members on a two-day retreat in Naivasha. The retreat is the first after President Uhuru Kenyatta's handshake with ODM party leader Raila Odinga. It is believed that Building Bridges initiative will form a bigger part of the discussions during that retreat. Let's speak to a senior political affairs reporter, Chris Tairu, for an update. Chris, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, a very good evening to you, Linda.
Great. Thairu, there are all indications that probably this meeting that will be held tomorrow by ODM leaders and their members is likely to focus on restructuring the executive. What are you hearing on the ground?
Well, Linda, this meeting or the retreat by the Orange Democratic Movement Party, of course, comes after the famous handshake between the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta. And what we saw after that handshake is that members from ODM and the opposition, so to speak, came out clamoring for constitutional changes. And that was actually beefed up by the former Prime Minister when he was in Kakamega County during the devolution conference, when he indicated that or proposed that it's good to have a three-tier system of government so that at least devolution can be felt to the grassroots level and also bring inclusivity. But I'm joined by the Secretary General of ODM, Edwin Sifuna, who is also with the MP for Nyando, Jared Okello. But I'll speak to the SG so that at least you can tell us, bring us to speed, what do we expect tomorrow and which are some of these issues that members and Kenyans should expect from ODM party?
Thank you very much. We will be having a meeting of the National Executive Committee, which is basically an assembly of the top national leaders of ODM. And as you rightly say, the Honorable Jared Okello, MP for Nyando, is here in his capacity as our Secretary for Public and Economic Affairs. And that is how and why he sits on the neck. Two main issues. We know that we've been discussing the revamping of a party. And as the top leadership of a party, I believe that the NEC members are going to be critical in that particular process of revamping the party at the grassroots level, which we expect will kick off at least from the 14th, that is next week. Also, we want party members, especially at the top, to be brought to speed as to the Building Bridges initiative. What role that we are expected to play as a party in order to make that initiative succeed. We as ODM are extremely interested and invested in the success of the Building Bridges initiative. I would say even perhaps more than our partners across the aisle. We are the ones that face the most questions from our membership. We are the ones whose membership have the greatest expectation. So it is really upon us, incumbent upon us, to ensure that that thing works.
Of course, this can't pass me because members from the ODM party have been piling pressure on the former Prime Minister to at least try another shot at the presidency come 2022. Do we expect these also to form basis of the agenda tomorrow?
I am a member of ODM. Mheshimiwa Jared Okello is a member of ODM. I don't remember piling any pressure on the party leader about 2022. In fact, the pressure that we are piling upon him is to address the issues that are most important to our membership at the moment. You will know that ODM bore the greatest brand of police brutality following the elections. And in fact, what our members are telling us is that we must put our people, especially the families that lost their loved ones, front and center of these discussions about moving the country forward. That we would like to see a public apology from the government and even a discussion about compensation for the victims' families. So that is the pressure that we are putting upon our party leader. It has nothing to do with 2022.
But of course, over the weekend, we saw the other team from the Jubilee side accusing your party leader, Raila Odinga, of campaigning, while on the other side concentrating on development agenda.
I think they say that a drowning man will clutch at straws. We know that some people's returns are diminishing by the day, and they have chosen to stand against the will of Kenyans to bring the country together. And even in spite and despite their party leader, Uhuru Kenyatta, issuing directives that we concentrate on this process of building the nation and bringing people together, they have decided to oppose every and each possible solution to the problems that Kenyans have. So we really have no time for those who are not interested in bringing the country together, who are not interested in the 9-point agenda that was agreed between Raila Odinga and Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta. We will let those croaking frogs croak, but we as the cows will drink the water.
It seems you're privy to what was discussed between the two leaders. Was constitutional amendments a part of it?
We are all privy to the discussions between Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga because they favored us with a memorandum of understanding that identifies 9 issues which they gave primacy to and which as a country we would like to have a discussion about. Issues to do with inclusivity, divisive elections, devolution. All of those discussions have been made public. What I see is people trying to read into the MOU things that were not in it. So for us, we are clear that the mandate that falls upon the 14-member team is narrowed to those 9 issues, and that whatever proposals will come out of those discussions on how we can strengthen devolution, for instance, or how we can have a better governance structure is something that ODM will support.
Okay. Well, I understand that Linda has a question. Linda, kindly tell me, what's your question so that I can throw it to the SG of ODM party?
Okay, so probably this would not go to the SJ. It probably go to Nyando, Member of Parliament, Jared Okello. Would you ask him, because there are all manner of speculation, there are those who are saying maybe they will have a conversation about having new coalitions with respect to what is currently happening in NASA. Is that an option they will probably be looking at? Is that a conversation they would want to have?
Actually, this goes to the member for Nyando. And what Linda wants to know is that when it comes to, when you indicate that you are looking or exploring other coalitions, do you also intend to form any other coalition from any other side?
Well, first things first. As the SG has clearly indicated, there are most urgent matters that we have to address as a nation. If you look at what we went through during this most divisive political season, there are certain issues that we have to bring on board, address them amicably. Issues of inclusivity, my SG has just talked about police brutality that unfortunately killed so many innocent lives. Those who are just out to really practice what is in Article 37 of the Kenya's Constitution, which is about, demonstration and picketing, or even presentation of petitions before government agencies. So it is quite unfortunate that this came to that level. We want to believe that moving forward, issues of these unwarranted deaths will be in our history books. Suffice to say, it is too early in the day to start talking about coalitions because every political party is formed with one mandate, and that is to seize power and move the country forward. And, all the instruments of governance. So if 2022 is the next general election, I would say that it will be jumping the gun to put our efforts and emphasis on something that will happen 5 years down the line. So I think most critically, let us look at as a nation issues that perpetuate the welfare and well-being of the Kenyan people to the absolute exclusion of any other discussion or agenda that is not in line with the aspirations of the Kenyans.
The question that those who are against any constitutional amendments have been putting to you in the side of the ODM and of course NASA is, if we are talking about inclusivity, must you amend the constitution so that you can bring on board the position of the Prime Minister and his deputies so that everyone can be accommodated? Are there not any other ways that can ensure that there is inclusivity in government?
In 2010, before my SG jumps in 2010 we were, under universal agreement that there was a 20 percentage point that was under scrutiny. And Kenyans went into a referendum that ushered in a new constitutional dispensation with this kind of knowledge. In fact, one of the reasons why those who were pro-no campaigns was actually centered on the 20%. And now we are saying that having walked with this constitution, we have known where the shoe pinches, and it is high time that we therefore incorporated the 20% that those guys were actually fighting against. So it's interesting that when we are presented with this opportunity, they now want to run away from it. You know, you cannot have your cake and eat it. We have to be very open with each other. We have to move above board. And anything that Kenyans are yearning for, I mean, this country is theirs. It doesn't belong to politicians. It doesn't belong to those sitting at the top echelons of governance. It belongs to the Kenyan people. And if they say, unequivocally that this is time that we need to bring ourselves together and re-examine the Constitution, let's do it. And no one person will deter our quest to have this done.
The SG seems to be burning with a point. Maybe your parting shot as before I throw it to Linda. Back to Linda.
I just want to make it clear, Chris, that the discussion about inclusivity is nothing to do with the structure of government. Inclusivity has to be inclusivity in all cadres of, for instance, opportunity in the civil service and so on and so forth. We have had very many reports put forward by the NCIC that actually point out to a very skewed public service and skewed appointments, availability of opportunities to all Kenyans. The discussion about the structure of government is in realization that in the pursuit of the presidency, we as Kenyans have gotten to a place where now lives are being lost and blood is being shed because of the pursuit of an all-powerful presidency. When we have a discussion about having a parliamentary system, for instance, it has nothing to do with creating positions for anyone, but that indeed that is the best system given our very tribally fractious society. Okay. So that is the distinction that you need to make about the discussions on inclusivity and on the structure of government.
Okay, thanks a lot, gentlemen. Well, Linda, there you have it. We'll just be waiting for tomorrow and get to know what will be their final deliberations. And remember that this meeting or this retreat will be chaired by the ODM party leader, Raila Odinga, who is expected to arrive here in the morning. Linda.
Yeah, Cyril, as you mentioned, there are lots of things that they probably need to touch on. Let's see how that conversation goes on tomorrow. We'll cover this for you in a way only we can here at KTN News. We have Chris Cyril and we have Jeff Kirui as well, who's in Naivasha for us. People, you're watching KTN Prime. Thank you for staying with us. Allow us to take a short break. We'll be back with more news for you.